Let me guess. You're sitting at home scrolling through your phone and you saw something about fantasy basketball. You stopped. You paused for a minute. You thought to yourself, is it time for that? Is that happening? Is it that season? I'm here to let you know. Shh, don't tell your league mates. It's time, because championships for fantasy are not won during the season. They're won during the off season. In this episode, we're going to run down which players you need to focus on for the 2025-2026 fantasy basketball season. So first off, the players that we're going to talk about are really from my research. I've been doing a lot of deep dives. There are a few fantasy basketball channels and outlets that are releasing content and doing mock drafts at this time, which is crazy. We've always been really early to the game when it comes to mock drafts, but we got folks like my brother Adam King out there running mock drafts, my brother Noah Rubin running mock drafts, and what I've been doing is kind of analyzing the data that I'm seeing from some of those expert mock drafts, which feature writers from NBC Sports Roto World, people from the Old Man Fantasy Network, just all of these brilliant fantasy basketball minds doing early mock drafts. But what I'm also doing is looking at the projections on ESPN specifically for category leagues and for points leagues. If you didn't know, ESPN's mock draft lobby is wide open, and they actually have projections that are live right now. So what I did was I took the data from the experts, I took the data from the websites, put them all together, put them in a daggone gumbo pot, and I started cooking up with hot bacon grease. And that's what we're going to run down today. But before we do that, if it's your first time here, I'm Robin Marks. I used to work for NBC Sports Roto World. I also used to contribute to Hashtag Basketball, and I'm a member of the Fantasy Sports Writers Association. Now, my mission is to serve you fantasy basketball content. This is actually the kickoff for season 5 of our podcast, so we are super grateful and excited to get things started. Quick human check-in. If you didn't know, last season I was actually on a running journey. I have totally fell off. So I'll give you an update on what we're doing for fitness. It has a little bit to do with basketball, a little bit to do with walking, but I have this painful quadricep / hamstring situation, and I'll keep you posted week to week on all that. One more thing. We're doing our largest giveaway in the history of the channel. When I tell you, we're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card, and there's more. We're also going to give you up to four NBA rookie cards, including a Halliburton rookie, an Anthony Edwards rookie, an Evan Mobley rookie, as well as a Tyrese Maxey rookie. But there's one more. We're also going to give you a surprise, a surprise mystery PSA graded card as well. So it won't be a bundle for one person. We'll have 6 different winners, and the grand prize being the $100 gift card from Amazon. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these players. So I wanted to not name like Jokic. I don't want to talk about Wemby. I don't want to run down a list of players that you know that you're going to draft if you have pick 1, pick 2, or pick 3. And I'm definitely not going to talk about any garbage players who are like coming with that hot dog water with the bratwurst residue. I'm talking about people who are cooking with hot bacon grease, top is off, boobies is out, hair blowing in the freaking wind early. First player. And we're going to go round by round. So for the first round, the player that I'm looking at, especially in that middle section, maybe in a 12-team league, like pick 7, pick 8, maybe even 6, depending on who's around, I'm looking at Cade Cunningham, y'all. And this is across the board. I saw in one of the expert drafts, somebody reached for him, I want to say at 4 or 5. So for points leagues or category leagues, it's definitely somebody I'm looking at in that middle to late first round. I'd like for him to fall to me, but there's some players that would traditionally be first round players that I kind of like him a little better than, you know what I'm saying? So players like Anthony Edwards, I like Cade better than Anthony Edwards. I'd take Cade Cunningham over Anthony Edwards just because I feel like Anthony Edwards, although he's still ascending, I think with Cade Cunningham, his ability to contribute in so many different areas is just super valuable for fantasy. So my first round pick would be Cade Cunningham. Another person that I would be looking at the back end of that first round that I feel like people are treating more like a second round player is James Harden. So James Harden, although he is older, right? He's not a spring chicken anymore. He is aging gracefully, like fine wine. And your man is still providing tons of fantasy value. So for me, at that back end of the first round, I would be open to drafting James Harden. Definitely in the top of the second if he fell that far. Now let's go to the second round, speaking of it. And there's a guy in the second round that I would consider grabbing at the back end of the first, but also he's somebody that I know will be in the second round, especially in some of these earlier drafts. From the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker. When I tell you, oh baby, your man Devin Booker just secured a brand new contract. Your man is out here cooking with hot bacon grease, oxtail oil. When I'm telling you, yo, KD is gone. It's like literally he has the keys to the car. He's going to be the man, in the driver's seat for this franchise for the foreseeable future. And he has tons and tons of opportunity here. So I see an increase from what he's done over the last few years, and I can see him sneaking in to the back end of the first round, but definitely somebody I'm snatching early on in the second round. Another player that I'd be interested in taking in the second round is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is now in Houston, as most of us already know. It's going to be a brand new environment, and I know people think there are a lot of mouths to feed in Houston. Let me tell you this about Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant is healthy, he is going to give you first round, second round value guaranteed, as long as he's healthy. And over the last couple of years, he's been relatively healthy. So for me, I'm looking at Kevin Durant in that second round. He's another player that I would grab in the early second, maybe if he fell, definitely in the middle of the second. Now let's move on to the third round. Another player that's going to take advantage of a change in the roster is a player that I haven't been high on, and I would have never drafted him this high in the past. However, things have changed, and due to a critical injury to his team, he will now be charged with running the show, being the number one option. From the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown. Now, Jaylen Brown is a gifted athlete, a gifted basketball player. But for fantasy, I've never really looked at him as a guy that I would even consider taking in the third round. But I saw in some of these expert drafts, plus I saw in some of these projections that people are looking at him with a different lens. Now, it's kind of makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth to think about drafting Jaylen Brown in the third round. It's got to be somebody better. But the thing about fantasy is that you want to make sure you take advantage of the opportunity. And looking ahead to the fact that this team is not only down Jason Tatum, but they've also shipped out Kristaps Porzingis. The team is going to look totally new. But one of the foundational pieces and pillars to this squad is Jaylen Brown. So for me, I would consider, right? I would mildly consider drafting him somewhere in that middle to late third round. I'm not going to jump out the freaking window like Ron Browse trying to draft him at the top of the third, but I would be open for the second or third. Another player that I would grab at the top of the third, oh baby. When I tell you I love this dude, I am like crazy about this player. And this is somebody that I think will continue to ascend as a fantasy superstar. And you can officially say, from Robin Marks to you, the glaze is otherworldly. I love this dude. From the Houston Rockets, Alperen Sengun. Ooh, man. Amen Thompson. KD, Van Fleet. Oh my goodness. It's going to be wild in Houston this year. Like, you know me, I am a bandwagon rider. I don't have any allegiance to any teams. But if I was going to pick a team, if it wasn't the OKC, I might have to rock with the Rockets. I might rock with the Rockets like Spracely Sprocket. I'm sorry, my bad. The Clips just dropped a new album after 16 years. If y'all not hip hop fans, y'all won't understand. But I'm in my zone right now, so just excuse me. But when it comes to Alperen Sengun, in all seriousness, he is a league-winning type of player, and he's only getting better. The thing about drafting these guys, some of these guys you've seen Harden, you've seen Durant, you've seen Curry, you've seen LeBron James. Sengun, you have yet to see the best. The best is yet to come. So with a player like that, I am definitely grabbing him at the top of the third round and making sure that I secure him for my fantasy team. Really quick, if you love this community, consider becoming an MVP member for just 27 cents a day. You get exclusive access to our MVP Discord channel. You also get priority replies. If you have a question throughout the season or for your draft, you can message us and we'll get back to you. You also get exclusive access to Rate My Team videos on TikTok. And you also get access to something brand new that I'm doing this season, and I want to tell you about it. I'm going to create a private podcast feed. Yes, a podcast feed that will only be available on Substack, right? And what happens is you give me your questions directly, and I'll create a podcast every week to answer all of the questions. I'll pick the day that works for everybody, and we'll kind of release the content like that. I just want to try something new because we want to create as much value as possible for you and all the rest of the fantasy basketball sickos out there. So let's get back to it. Let's go to round 4. So for round 4, there's a couple of guys that I'm looking at. First off, Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner got his money. He got a really strong team. He is a statistical, beast in terms of contributing in various category areas. For points leagues, he's a beast. For category leagues, just a guy I'm looking at. So for round 4, Franz Wagner is a guy that I'm targeting. Another guy I want to look at for the 4th round, and this, some might disagree, but I've seen him go in this area. I've also seen him go lower. ESPN right now has him in that round 5 category, and it's the first rookie we're going to talk about. I could give you 2 guesses, but you probably only need 1. From the Dallas Mavericks, Cooper frickin' Flag. Oh my goodness. Catch the flag, my guy. 4th round, I'm going to go for it. Maybe the middle of the 4th, depending on what's available and what has fallen. But I would say this to my folks who are new to fantasy. If you're drafting this season and you have a plan, like you took a list like this and you're like, well, Robin told me that I need to grab a Harden in the 1st round, and in the 2nd round, I need to make sure they get Booker. And I can't forget about 3rd round. He really loves Sengun. You can't approach your draft like that, my guy. Stop it. You can't. You have to be nimble. You have to be flexible. You have to pay attention to the value. So if players start falling, you got to sometimes move away from your initial plan to make sure that you capture the value. But when it comes to Cooper Flag, in that middle 4th, late 4th, if he's around, I'm pulling the trigger. And the more summer league I watch of this guy, man, I'm convinced, man. It ain't hard to tell. In the words of my man Nazir Jones, it ain't hard to tell. I excel and prevail. Grab yourself some Cooper Flag. Let's move on to round 5. This is an oldie but goodie, and I think he's going to have a solid season. And again, this is based on what I've seen in some of the expert drafts as well as what I'm seeing in the projections. And this is probably the area where it's not as sexy. But in round 5, I would be open to looking at a player like DeMar DeRozan. Another player I'll be looking at in that round 5 area is Jarrett Allen. Let's move along to round 6. We're going to keep it going with the Jalens. Now, some might disagree with this one. This might be a little early for some. And also, when you think about category leagues, it really depends on how you're building your team, right? So you might get to round 4 or round 5 and realize, you know what? It doesn't look like rebounds are going to be a thing that we're focused on. It might not be. It might be like we're giving up on steals. We're giving up on field goal percentage, and you're going to start to build out a punch strategy. And if that's the case, then maybe you have to be a little more nimble with some of these names. But generally speaking, and also for points leagues, this guy is somebody that I'm looking at. From the Detroit Pistons, round 6, Jalen Duren. Some might say it's a little early. I think he's going to go off this year, y'all. If I could double up and grab him and Cade, I'm doing it. I'm not playing. And I think in one of my dynasty leagues, I might even have him as a player. I have to make a decision if I'm going to keep him or not because my roster is stacked. But that's a whole nother episode. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys play Dynasty? Let me know if you play Dynasty. And if you don't know what Dynasty is, also let me know that in the comments. the next player for round 6 is going to kind of shock you. It's going to shock you. Big shout out to my man, Mark Atkinson. He just pulled up. What up, Mark? I see you, man. That's my guy right there. This one might shock you. Round 6 from the Philadelphia 76ers, not Paul George, not Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has fallen from grace, y'all. The former MVP is now an afterthought. He has officially inherited and absorbed this injury-prone tag. He is no longer somebody we are looking at in the first round, y'all. The experts have spoken. I haven't done a mock draft yet, but I watched what the experts said. I looked at the projections on ESPN. It's a wrap. Hot dog water with the bratwurst residue. Dumpster juice Ville. Let that sink in. Joel Embiid in the 6th round is something I would do. I think the value, the risk versus value and the risk versus reward, for me, it makes sense. Now, I would add, right, if you were drafting Joel Embiid in the 6th round, I'm not messing. I don't have AD on my team. I don't have Kawhi on my team. I don't have any other player that would even have that kind of a tag of being a injury-prone player. You know what I'm saying? But in the 6th round, a guy that, if healthy, which in most would say that they don't think he's going to be healthy, but suppose he plays 70 games and you grab him in the 6th round, now you got a first-round player in the 6th round. So that's why, for me, that's where it becomes interesting. And I don't give a shit su puppy. If Joel Embiid falls to me in the 6th round, I'm grabbing him. Again, the disclaimer, as long as I don't have one of those other historically injury-prone players. Now let's move on to round 7. Round 7 there's only one player I really want to talk about. There was another player I thought about, but I was like, nah, I don't know about that. This is a guy that is going to be buried in your projections if you're doing an early draft, right? So if you draft early, maybe sometime in August, maybe early September, this guy might be a little lower on your projections, but I believe he'll provide at least round 7 value. I think round 7 value is his floor. I think he can do a whole lot more than that, but I think he'll at least produce on a 7th round level. From the Toronto Raptors, Brandon Ingram. People forget how good Brandon Ingram really was. When he was like really flowing, he is a valuable fantasy basketball asset, especially in points league. So for me, that's somebody I'll jump out the window like Ron Browser now. I'm jumping out the window on this one. Jumping for Brandon Ingram. I would do that. So let's move on to the 8th round. So the 8th round is where this is where I might reach a little bit here. So this one, I think this is where it's not as sexy down here in this area, but I'm going to reach here on the 8th round. So for the 8th round, I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen with Anthony Simons. At this point of my analysis, I want to see what this guy's going to do. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. There's going to be a wide open lane of, points, touches, usage, and somebody's going to need to go ahead and fill that void. So I think he's an interesting pick. And while we're talking about the Boston Celtics, at the back end of that 8th round, I'd also be interested in going for Peyton Pritchard. Yes, I said it. Peyton Pritchard. I would draft him late 8th. Why not right now at this point? And again, I've seen him in some expert drafts as well in some of those projections go in that area. So we'll see how things kind of grow over the next few weeks because we're going to be launching some mock drafts really soon. And if you are interested in joining our mock drafts this season, all you have to do is visit believeinfantasy.com to become a member of our community. It's absolutely free. We have over 2,000 fantasy basketball fanatics who are going to provide value to you. And we also have an elite group of fantasy experts in our space, including my brother, John Fritz, my man, Ben, you know what I'm saying, my man, Nick. And we're also introducing a brand new member of our team a little later on in the show. And of course, I can't forget about the first ever fantasy basketball AI influencer and analyst, my girl, Tanya. So we have our first ever AI analyst on the team. We are doing some cutting edge stuff over here at Believe in Fantasy Basketball. So let's move along. So we just talked about Anthony Simons and Pritchard. Let's go to round 9. Round 9 is going to be another controversial one. I'm going to go Kyrie Irving here. Kyrie Irving might be back, right? So for me, if I could grab Kyrie, put him in my IR at round 9, maybe even round 10, late round 9, early round 10, I'm okay with that considering what's on the board. Obviously, it depends on the size of your league as well. If you're in a 10-team league, 12-team league, 14-team league, it really depends. But for the most part, I'm interested to see what happens with Kyrie Irving at this point. If more news comes out and things change and materialize over the next couple of weeks, that could change. But I love the idea in February, March, April, or March, really, in those last 3 months of the fantasy basketball season, having Kyrie Irving as a secret weapon. I love that idea. So for that reason, I'd be interested in drafting him in the 9th round. Another player I'm open to grabbing in the 9th round is my man's in him, OG Anunoby. If he, man, listen, and he's projected to go lower than that on ESPN for categories and points league. So for me, I'm looking at it like, man, if I could get OG in the 9th, I'm taking that. Now let's move on to the last round I want to talk about, which is round 10. Round 10. So for round 10, we have another rookie, somebody that I've been eyeballing and looking at and thinking about where could I take him. I've seen him operate in summer league and he looks pretty good, from the San Antonio Spurs, Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper is definitely the type of player we want to take a look at in these later rounds. He's somebody that can put on for the city, and before you know it, you know what I'm saying, he's going to find his way and become a super, super valuable fantasy basketball asset. So for me, for that reason, that's definitely someone I'm taking a look at. And then for the rest of the rounds, we're going to hold off. We're just going to go to round 10 on this one because I still want to make sure we answer some questions. And also, we have a guest coming to the show. Okay, so my guest is pulling up. We might as well just go ahead and see if we can. Yeah. We cooking with hot bacon grease. Let's get that going. And then guess one. Boom, boom, boom. You ready?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
I can. I think if you've got local recordings on, though, let me just make sure I'm not on local because
the internet. How's that for you?
Well, you sound great on my end, and there might be a delay, but when it records, it shouldn't show up like that, so it should be fine.
Awesome.
Okay, so let me make this announcement, Maddie. Let me make this announcement. So I want to announce to the world that we are bringing on the newest member of the Believe in Fantasy Basketball family. My man, my man, the one and only Maddie G is joining the family. Welcome to the squad, Maddie.
Hey man, how you doing, Robin? It's lovely to be here. I'm really blessed. I'm really happy to be part of the family. If the internet, if this is all slow, it's because I'm out in the snow parts of regional New South Wales, Victoria here, and jumping on at lunch. It's amazing to be here in the hype in the preseason to kick off season 5 with Believe. It feels good, man. It feels real good.
Yeah, and we're grateful to have you too, Maddie. So really quick, I want to make sure we take some time. Why don't you tell folks about your experience with fantasy basketball just so they can kind of understand your work. And then let's talk a little bit about what we're going to bring to the channel together this year.
Absolutely. Look, man, I love I love and I'm passionate about fantasy basketball. I play hoops. I've loved hoops all the time growing up. My mama, I call her my mama. How American is that? You're American. My
My
mama.
mama,
My
my
mom.
mama.
My mama. Mama told you. Mama G. Mama G is in a wheelchair. She's been in a wheelchair since she was 13 years old, and when she got into a chair, she didn't. She was my mom was always really tall, so they're like, you can play basketball. So they put my mom into a wheelchair basketball when she was then after her traction, she got out of the hospital. When she was 14, 15, she was the only girl playing wheelchair basketball. And the boys would push, wanting to harden her up. And the fellas, there were some grown ass men, would push her out of a chair and be like, you can get back up. If you fall over in this thing, you got to have to learn to pick yourself up and put yourself back in the chair. So my mom, when I was a kid, the only sport that my mom could know being in a wheelchair was basketball. So she would be able to shoot a ball and hold the ball. So I would bounce around and run around. And so I grew up loving basketball. And I grew up loving that in the 90s, as we know, like the sickest time to be that big wave of like Jordan, Shaq, Alonzo Mourning, the old school Charlotte Hornets, man. That's what I grew up with. And then slowly I got into basketball and fantasy wise and started playing it. And it was low key here in Australia, not as big as in the States. So I developed myself and I got involved. Friends of mine had the Insight podcast network, and so I was heading up the NBA team there for the last couple of years. And this year, I'm onto some challenges. I've joined up with Old Man Sports Network. So I'll be working with Dan Besbris and Adam King and all those guys. And then I was like reaching out and we were talking. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's jump on in. And I believe and believe. And that's why I'm here now. So I get to bring what I love and my history for winning and helping people win their championships, helping people win their leagues. I win some and I'll lose some, like we all do. But my thing is to help as many people as I can win their league, because that's what it's about. It's about community members getting together, getting the knowledge, getting it right, and getting their team straight to at least a pathway for the finals, come what may.
Love that. Love that. And Maddie G, we talked about it right at the beginning of, me like getting back online, relaunching, going into season 5, that this is last year we focused strictly on points leagues for the first year ever. Yeah. So before that, we were kind of everywhere. We did a little sleeper, we did a little roto, we did a little category, a lot of points leagues. This year, we're intentionally focusing on points leagues again, but also category leagues. So just talk to the folks about your expertise specifically with category leagues for fantasy basketball.
I'm specifically a category guy. Like points league is something that I'm good at. Like I can do who's going to score points? Like Matty O'Brien from Insight, he was in a couple points leagues, and he'd be like, who do you reckon's going to get it? So I would work with Matty and give him some advice, and Matty would say some stuff. And Matty OB is a killer, and he loves the points league stuff. But for me, I'm a category guy because I love seeing what players can bring to the table across that. So for me, I'm always looking about categorical scarcity. Who's going to get me what I need to beef up certain areas, especially in those 5 to 4 weeks that we have, because everyone wants to be a killer in fantasy. Everyone wants to win their week. I'm like, yeah, cool, man. Go try and get those 9-0 weeks. They're so rare. But what you want to put yourself in the best position possible is those 5 to 4s. If you're in a comp where it's just about head to head, you win. You win a week. You win a week. It doesn't matter what you win it by. But if you're trying to rack up the numbers, it always helps to win as many categories as you can. And that's my expertise and my speciality. It is helping you win your category leagues. And that's what I'm going to bring to Believe this year, being a cat guy.
Meow. So we're going to kick off in August, right? And in August, what we're going to do is we're going to have Maddie jump on to do at least one show a week. It might be more depending on his bandwidth and his time and energy, but we'll be starting off with some mock drafts,
Oh, I
right,
got
Maddie?
energy to burn. I got energy to burn, man. You might just wake up one morning and be like, hey, Robin, I just did 3 shows last night. They're in the studio. Just go and check them on out. Man, we're going to start off in August. Like I am a fiend. I am a fiend for mock drafts. And so this year, exclusives on Believe, it's going to be Maddie Mocks. I am going to be taking you through the first 12 to 14 picks and doing different builds. No matter where you are, if you get your draft down, locked down early, you know your draft position. I'm going to do remixes of those as well. So let's say you're picking at 5. I'm like, cool, let's do just the best build from pick 5. Let's go nuts. But then, because who you can get from pick 5 onwards, I'm going to throw in a couple of extra episodes exclusively for the Believe members, which are like, this is a punt free throw. This is a punt field goal percentage build from this one. Or we're going to have a look around at what else we can bring to the party to help you win your leagues and build your team the best by what's available on board. So we're going to do the first round of picks to help you do it, and especially exclusives on the how to pick at the turn. One of my things that I love is if you do get the tail end of the draft, how can you pick it from a pick 11 or 12 or 13 or 14? And then how do you build on those strengths between picks 1 to 3 when you've got so many picks in between, man? So for me, that's something that I'm passionate about. And so dropping in August in just a 2 weeks time, Maddie mock sessions and people from the Believe Network